Hello everybody and welcome back to Expert Examiner IELTS. My name is Glyn and in this video we have a writing check, but it is IELTS Writing Task 1. It has been a long time since I've looked at an IELTS Writing Task 1. Okay, we're going to start by really focusing on this question. So I'm going to hide my face right in this little corner. We are going to read this very carefully and we're going to, before we look at anything, we're going to analyze everything in these pie charts. Okay, so the charts show the proportions of British students at one university in England who were able to speak other languages in addition to English in 2000 and 2010. So, two pie charts, two static pie charts. One of them shows the year 2000. One of them shows the year 2010. Immediately, I think both of these are in the past, and so, past simple is what we're going to use. Okay, so the proportions of British students. So proportions is like percentage. So they should all add up to 100, 30, 45, 55, 75, 90, 100. Great proportions here. Just looks at percentage. Cool. The percentage of British students, not the foreign students, just the British students, not of all universities, but British students at one university in England. So, who were able to speak other languages in addition to English. So, a British student at an English university who can speak not only English, but another language. Okay. So, looking at the information, then we have some other languages here. The big green. Let's look at the first. Let's look at the first pie chart first. So the big green thing is important. 30% of people could speak Spanish only, in addition to English. So they could speak English and Spanish. So that's a major thing. The next one is 20%, which is no other language. Now let's just compare that very quickly with the situation in 2010. Spanish was still number one with 35%, but the number of people who didn't know any additional language dropped from 20% to 10%. It's quite a meaningful drop. Okay, any other meaningful things here? There's no change between German speakers, no change, well, a slight change, a drop between French speakers. Then we had two other languages change from 10 to 15. So it seems that between this period, the students of the British students at this university started learning more languages, it seems. So when we're thinking about an overview and we're thinking about some general information, that's what I think. The overview is that the British students at this university in 2010, a higher proportion of them could speak at least one more foreign language in 2010 compared to 2000. And another key takeaway, another general overview, is that Spanish is the most popular foreign language for British students at this university. So those for me are the key details, and that would be the nice overview. Okay, anything else we need from this? Don't think so. Everything else is mostly the same. But okay, so there are different approaches to this. You can use a 3-paragraph structure. You can use a 4-paragraph structure. Really doesn't matter. But one thing you have to do is you have to, a couple of things. You have to have an overview in order to get, I think, more than band 5 or more than band 6. You have to have an overview. It's a ceiling. If you don't have an overview, you will struggle in this task. Secondly, it is important to record the information accurately. Cool. And that's for this task achievement. So not task response this time, but task achievement. So we have to have that overview. we have to explain the details relatively clearly, and we have to get our numbers right. Those are minimum things for this task achievement. Everything else, coherence and cohesion, grammatical range and accuracy, lexical resource, all of that is the same as the part 2. But let's have a look at the candidate's writing then. So the first thing, now we can have an absolute direct paraphrase here. The first paragraph should be an absolute direct paraphrase of the charts below show the proportions of British students. Now, if you look through any of these IELTS books or just look at 100 or just 10 or 20 different IELTS writing task 1s, look carefully at the wording they use. Some of them say the charts below show, some of them say the charts below illustrate, some of them say like the charts below demonstrate or something like this. Look at the wording from all of the different IELTS writing task 1s. You can steal the language from the other writing task 1s. It's a very common hack, but okay. Yeah, so hopefully we're going to get just, a little paraphrase of what the information, what the pie charts show. So let's see if that's what we get from our candidate. The given pie charts illustrate, cool, we have a nice paraphrase, illustrate the percentage, not percentage about, but percentage of, so that's lexical resource problem, the percentage of UK learners at one university. We need to mention, we do have in a particular university, sorry, UK learners who were proficient. Proficient? Were able to speak proficient. Okay, fair enough. That for me, that's proficient in linguistics. It has a specific meaning. In the CEFR, proficient means like level C2. But I guess we can be a little bit relaxed. Were able to speak. They were proficient, but not proficient to speak. Proficient in speaking. So just a problem with collocation there. Other languages, such as, I don't know if you really need to. You could give details such as Spanish, German, and French, besides English. So that S at the end, besides English, or they've used in addition to. On top of isn't very formal. Besides, with an S, besides English in a particular university in England, but not from 2000 to 2010. From would be like a line chart. This is not a dynamic line chart showing progress or something like this. It is two static pictures. So not from 2010 to 2010, not from to, but in 2000 and 2010. So, it's just a minor error. But okay. Generally, the candidate has paraphrased reasonably well. A couple of small language points, but okay. Now, I guess the candidate is going to try to give the overview. So the overview is, the key bits of information, not with the details, just the key features. Can the candidate select 2 good key features in her overview? Overall, good, signposting language to show that it's an overview. It is clear that, and I don't know why we have the capital letter. So candidate really, this isn't a difficult rule in English. We use capital letters with proper nouns, names of towns, cities, countries, mountains, seas, names of proper nouns. We also use capital letters at the beginning of sentences after full stops, like this full stop here. And we also use capital letter for the pronoun I. And that's it. Don't know why there's a capital letter here. But anyway, overall, it is clear that there are about 30% of students who could not speak. Or you could just say, it is clear that about 30% of students could not speak. But we can't say there are about 30% of students could not speak. So a few ways to reword this, but I guess the simplest one is just to remove there are. Sorry, I have a cold again, so my voice is a little bit strange. Yeah, haven't been lucky with sickness. Overall, it is clear that about 30% of students could not speak any other language in 2000. Is that true? 30% of students could not speak any other language in 2000. Let's see if that's true. So this is 2000, here, here. 30% could not speak any other language. No, 30% is green, Spanish only. 20% could not speak any other language. So this becomes a problem because now the information isn't correct. And I know why the candidate has made this problem, because when the candidate sent me the picture, I asked her to send me the question. She sent me this. And here it isn't clear. It really isn't clear which color is which. And the candidate has just guessed. Now, what I did when I saw this, I looked at this and thought, you know, this information isn't clear. I can't judge the candidate's writing if I don't understand the information. So I simply copy and pasted the question, and I found a version of it online. And this I would recommend the candidate to do too. You know, you have to make sure that you understand what you're writing about. You have to have, like, I think all candidates should be a little bit paranoid. I'm lucky that in my brain, I always think I'm doing something wrong. I always think if there's a 50-50 chance, for example, between, you know, which one of these is no other language and which one of these is Spanish only, my brain tells me that if I guess, I will make a mistake and it will be a problem. Unfortunately, the candidate has just guessed. Maybe the candidate doesn't have that paranoid mind, and the candidate just thought probably this is the right answer. You have to be more careful with this. Yeah, and you know, if you can't find a good part one, if you have part one like this and you think, oh, it's not very clear, ask me. I'll send you a part one with very, very clear bits of information. But I can only measure your writing as you send it to me. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but okay. 30% of students could not speak any other language, so this just isn't true. This 30% number, we have to make that bold and underline it. It's just not true information. Similarly, in 2010, the language of Spanish was the most popular. I don't know if we need the language of, you know, we already have, I think, few too many words. So in 2010, Spanish was the most popular. With the superlatives, we often use the most popular language, not rather than, you know, and we don't even need, because we're using the superlative was the most popular language, we don't need than something. Was the most popular language, full stop, is fine. That's enough. Okay. Is that a good overview? For me, that doesn't fully work. Well, maybe it does. Yeah, maybe it does. That percent of students could not speak any other language, and Spanish was the most popular. Actually, I think those two key features are the key features. They're the same ones that I picked out. Great, I'm happy with that. The only problem is because of the color of the pie charts that you couldn't see, we have incorrect information. That's a problem. Okay, now we should get details. So I'm hoping we get details about the people who couldn't speak any other language. First of all, in the year 2000, the Spanish... So I don't know why we're giving details on the Spanish language. For me, this is bad flow of the text. If we've started this paragraph by saying key feature number 1 is about people who could not speak another language, then I want the next body paragraph to talk about key feature 1. But instead, you have, in this paragraph, you have Spanish is key feature 2, but now you're starting your body paragraph by talking about Spanish. And for me, that's just strange flow. But okay, first of all, in the year 2000, the Spanish. Spanish was the second highest spoken language. No, it wasn't. In the year 2000, it was the highest language, the highest one. Let's have a look again. In the year 2000, Spanish was the most spoken language, not the second. Uh-huh. So that's just not true. Let's just mark that. Second highest spoken language to university, maybe among university students. Comma, so we need that comma there, which is about, not is, but was about. I know you're looking at the pictures now, but I still think, you're talking about 2000, let's use past time, which was about 20%. After that, in 2010, this was significantly risen. This significantly rose, but we don't use rise in the passive. So rise is a verb that doesn't have any object. We call them intransitive verbs, and we don't use intransitive verbs in the passive. So this rose to, I think that's fine. This rose significantly to about 35%. 20 to 35. Let's just have a look at the question again. 20 to 35. No, it rose from 30 to 35. So again, it's a color problem, I guess, but she, I don't know. I can only deal with the information that's in front of me. It didn't rise from 20 to 35. It rose from 30 to 35, which for me isn't a significant increase. It's an increase. It's a rise. You should mention it, but it's not really significant. It's not huge. Okay. So after that, in 2010, this was significantly risen about 35%, comma, which was, so she got that 35% number right, but there's no comma, which was the highest proportion in this year. Okay. What is more? Okay, what is more is fine. I think just additionally is nicer here. Only 15% of pupils were spoken in French, could speak French. So this is, just past form of can. We learned this at elementary level. I can do it. I could do it. Were spoken in French. I don't know what that means. Candidate doesn't really seem to understand the active voice versus the passive voice. Pupils were spoken. Pupils spoke. So candidate has problems with past simple. Only 15% of pupils were spoken in French as well as another language in 2000. I would have to look back at the text there to understand what the candidate means, but I don't think this information is true. French as well as another language. Do we get the information of French as well as another language? We get French only, German only, Spanish only, but we don't get French and another language. So we don't have the details for that. So the candidate is writing about details that aren't in there when she says were spoken in French as well as another language in 2000. So yeah, it's unclear. However, the percentage of another language, not another language, a different language maybe, or other language, was increased again. Problem with the past simple, just increased, not was increased. Increased to, so candidate doesn't use prepositions, increased to about 20%. Than passed in 20, so yeah, it's just weak language. Just a collection of words there that don't grammatically make sense, unfortunately. Increased about 20% than passed in 2010. That requires a lot of interpretation from the examiner to try to understand meaning there. Likewise, good signposting language at least. Likewise, the French language was sharply declined again. Problem with past simple. Candidate has no control, unfortunately, over past simple. Simply, we should use sharply declined. At 10%. Is that a sharp decline from 15% to 10%? I don't know if that's really sharp. So I like, the word sharp as a if there's, if it's that angle. But again, I don't think that's sharp. From 15% to 10%? Nah. Okay, moreover. I don't really love this moreover here. We should use some signposting language to show that we are talking about the second key feature. So it's not really a moreover. You're not really giving additional information. You're not continuing. You should be using signposting language to show that we're changing focus from the candidates who spoke other languages to something else. But we're still, yeah, okay, we're still focusing on more details again about French. So I don't like the fact that there are two body paragraphs that are focusing on French when you didn't really mention in the overview. You didn't mention anything about French in the overview, and now you're spending a lot of time in the body paragraphs talking about French, and I don't really see why, because it's not really a key detail. 20% and 10% of students were selected. I don't know what this means, were selected to. I have no idea what that means here. Not the French, but French. Not the German, but German. And two other languages. We need the plural. In the given year 2000. Again, I can't make any sense of this, unfortunately. By contrast, good signposting language here. Candidate has decent signposting language. This percentage of the German and no other language were gradually, no other language was. This percentage of the German and no other language were gradually increased and dropped, which is about 15% and 10%. So again, that's just very... I can't make sense of this, anything in this paragraph, unfortunately. By contrast, this percentage of the German and no other language were gradually increased and dropped, which is about 15% and 10%. Yeah, so I can't make sense of that. So, task response. I think I just want to check, just want to make sure. I have in my mind that it's a 5, but I just want to check that it's not a 4. Just give me one moment. So, as all examiners are always taught, if in doubt, go to the band descriptors. Always check with the band descriptors to make sure you have the correct fit. Doesn't matter if you've been examining for years and years and years, the band descriptors are your gods. But okay. So I am satisfied that task response here, sorry, task achievement. Task achievement is enough for a 5. There was an attempt at an overview. Cool. She picked out some key features, but she did not really demonstrate them well, and she got some of the information wrong. Next one, we will go with coherence and cohesion. So this is a mixed bag because signposting language is good. The paragraph structure generally is appropriate. But sometimes I can't quite make sense of this stuff. So again, I'm going to go back to the band descriptors for this. I feel like probably it's 5, but is there enough for a 6? Because of the nice paragraph structure and because of the nice signposting language, the nice cohesive devices. I don't love this moreover, but I just want to check again with those band descriptors. Just a moment. Okay, so having checked the band descriptors again, for me there is enough to award the 6 for coherence and cohesion, but I don't think we're going to get maybe lexical resource. So let's take a look back to this. I know with the grammar, could I really say this? It's bad enough for a 4 for the grammar. Again, I'm just going to go back and check the band descriptors for this. All right, so for grammatical range and accuracy, yeah, definitely not a 4, but closer to the 5. Lexical resource, there is some good stuff in there, like sharply declined is good, but, even though it was sharply declined, but I like this sharply declined, but it's just not precise here because it's not a sharp decline. So that's a problem. Selected is just wrong here. Significantly, again, significantly is great to talk about a rise, but it's just not a significant rise. So the candidate doesn't really demonstrate that she understands the meaning of significantly and the meaning of sharply, because it doesn't really match, doesn't cohere with the information that we get in the pie charts. Again, rather than, but we don't use rather than with the superlatives. Some small errors, a few errors with capitalization, but okay, that's grammar. Yeah, it really fails to use prepositions a lot too, like a percentage of, or it rises to, and things like this. So I think because of that, I'm going to award 5 for lexical resource 2. So quite a difficult one. I found quite a difficult one to mark. I don't do a lot of, honestly, I don't do a lot of marking with the IELTS writing task 1. I'm an examiner for a few different exams, but I don't examine IELTS at the moment. And the exams that I have, we don't have a task like this IELTS writing task 1. We have stuff like IELTS writing task 2, but not like this IELTS writing task 1. So it's just means I have to look at the band descriptors a little bit more, but I'm confident that my scores are accurate here. So overall, 5.5. That puts the candidate at the lower end of upper intermediate, which is, for me, very generous. When I look at this text, the impression I get is, I feel like it's more intermediate. It's more B1 than it is B2, but according to the band descriptors, there's, because the candidate uses the correct format and she does use good signposting language, this is enough to elevate it. Oh no, sorry. I've made a mistake again. This overall score is 5.25, which brings it down to 5.0. Sorry, 5655 is 5.25, which is 5.0, which is B1, and I think that is an accurate measure of the candidate's writing here. This is a B1 piece of writing. What advice would I give to the candidate? Well, first of all, don't practice with things like this. If you have difficulties finding IELTS writing task 1s, do a Google search. There are so many out there. Use IELTS Liz, IELTS Jackie, lots of good sources out there. If you really can't find anything, or you're not sure if it's a good example, just write to me. Hey, can you give me an example of a writing task 1? If I've selected you to do the writing and you can't find a suitable writing task 1, or you're not sure of the pie charts of the colors and things like this, just let me know. I will be happy to send you a writing task 1. Yeah, so this really killed your task achievement. You have to get the numbers right, and also keep in mind that in your overview, if you talk about 2 key features in your overview, that's really where your focus should be on in your body paragraphs. You want the overview to select and mention 2 key features, and then your body paragraphs should give details about those key features. Past simple, yeah, unfortunately, there's no amount of exam technique. You can learn how to write the task, you can learn how to do like academic, how to pick out the key features and how to organize it. But if your general language level, if you can't use past simple correctly, I don't think a candidate should take IELTS if they can't use past simple correctly. So my advice would be, candidate probably needs to improve her basic foundational grammar. Certainly there are some aspects of the writing that I like, but really you have to know present simple, past simple, present continuous, few future time constructions as a minimum. Anyway, a little bit of a chaotic writing check. I am feeling a little bit sick, and like I say, task 1 is always just slightly less familiar for me than writing task 2. It's your expert examiner. But I hope you found this useful anyway. Let me know what you think of the candidate's writing, and yeah, as always, if you want if you want me to check your IELTS writing, either task 1 or task 2, or if you would like me to give you a free speaking test with feedback, then you can apply for this on the Telegram channel. A link to the Telegram channel is given in the description. But I'm going to drink some nice drink that helps me with my cold, and then I'm going to go to sleep. But have a wonderful evening, everybody. See you.